Hi ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to Madman ranting about a show that he loves dearly. There's many of these. We have made a great deal. Regardless, ladies and gentlemen, today we're going to be talking about a show that I've been following way back in the day since it first aired, called Lucifer. Yeah, like the devil. That whole bit of business. But it's in the DC land. Yeah, so it's like based on a comic book. We're going to be talking about the latest season, or latest season half, weird, and we're going to try to hold off for spoilers, probably until I just say, hey, guess what, there's going to be spoilers, which is probably going to be pretty soon here. But anyways, I wanted to sell you guys the premise of this show, because a lot of guys watch these and are like, hey, Grin, you and me kind of have the same tastes. Okay, so quick synopsis of Lucifer. Essentially, the devil works as a detective. It sounds a bit cheesy, but it's done in a really cool way. The devil works as a detective with this lady who's a detective. He's more of a nightclub owner. And he essentially has the power of being immune to bullets, being kind of like a god. But he is weakened when he is with his partner, which is this detective. Secondly, his main power is to pull out what people desire. So this can help him find the big bad guy when it comes to cases, as well as him having like thousands and thousands of years of understanding how people who are evil think and all that stuff. Anyways, the premise, I understand now as I say it aloud, it sounds a bit campy. It doesn't sound that great. But this is undoubtedly one of those shows where it is like Iron Man to Robert Downey Jr. or Wolverine to Hugh Jackman or Deadpool to Ryan Reynolds. It is like there's a person who plays this character so ungodly, pun intended, well, that it just makes it so enjoyable. And this person to me is like the definition of charismatic, and like charming and suave and all those kinds of things. So that is the main actor who actually plays Lucifer. Also, I also want to give proper credence. There's a person who's the detective, who is Chloe, who is equally as fantastic, and also there's a ton of side characters that exist within the show that are also just fantastic to compare, or comparatively to this guy, to Lucifer, the main guy. But yeah, I always feel like people talk about how great Lucifer is and not so much the other people, but the other people also kill it really well. In fact, I don't think there's really bad acting, but that's also because the show is kind of meant to be fun. I would highly advise you guys check out the first season. And again, the whole premise of the show, the things that like make you fall in love with it is the idea, at least to me, I love this trope in shows and monster movies and everything, which is, okay, this big bad werewolf, monster, vampire, whatever, what if I told you a story where they weren't just evil? What if I told you a story where instead they fought to be good? Or what if I told you a story where you were completely lied about what they were, you know, and instead they were the good guy, but history is told by the victor, and they sacrificed themselves for you, and the people that were given that benefit told you the wrong story, that kind of thing. I love stories like that, specifically the one where they show a different perspective of a monster not just being so evil and one-sided, but instead multi-layered and just probably being good, because there's plenty of I find it really endearing when evil or perceived evil tries to be good, and then good is actually perceived as just monstrous, right? Anywho, so that's the whole basis of the show. Is there's this guy who everyone throws their sin on, their anger at, but he's actually undoubtedly a kind, good person and a virtuous person as well. Bottom line is, ladies and gentlemen, I would highly advise you check out this show because it is nothing shy of just lovely. I will say the first 2 seasons are great. Then they start to kind of taper off into like the kind of weird, okay, this show is popular, let's just make a lot of them, and it does a lot of the thing where like you take 2 steps forward in one season, and then they're like they give it to a new director, and the director's like, well, what if I just did what that guy did over again? And then they somehow de-thread what this guy did, and now the main character's back at square one, and they have to build him up again, and it does some of that stuff. But again, I think 90% of the people that watch and like this show are fine with that to some extent. They're fine with the idea of, okay, I just want to see Lucifer be Lucifer in different kind of situations. Go team. I'm pretty happy with just that. It could go on for a longer time than that. Now, with that being said, we are going to start to get into spoilers. So forgive me if you have not watched season, I think it's 6. The first half of season 6 that's on Netflix. So Netflix bought up Lucifer a while back, and they made 2 seasons, kind of a season and a half as of right now, by the time this video is coming out. Oh, by the way, just because I do want to title this video something that it can be somewhat helpful, we're going to talk about it probably more in a minute here, but the reason why season 6 ended on such a weird note, where it like kind of stopped halfway and it only had 7 or something episodes, is because COVID happened. And yeah, so this is the first half of season 1, and apparently 60% of the second half of season 6 is actually being filmed right now, but it's 60% done. So they only have a little bit more to go. But with that being said, it's still 40% that's editing and all that stuff. So it's probably going to either be late 2020 or early 2021, like really early 2021, if it is at all one of those. But apparently that's what they're saying to expect. It's either going to be around the end of this year or the very, very, very beginning of next year, which is kind of cool. We get it pretty soon, all things considered. Also, kind of be funny if it did come out in 2021, because, you know, the whole this year's been a plague and all that kind of stuff. Anyways, I don't know really where I was, so let's just start again. Okay. So I want to talk about something that I'm not sure if I was the only one feeling it. By the way, this is largely going to be, this part of the video is for people who are fans of the show and just want to chat about it, that kind of thing. I felt like season 6 was one of the worst starts to the series flat. I thought it was one of the worst episode 1 and 2 and 3 that I've seen in a while. Maybe episode 1 and 2. But essentially, if you guys watched it now, season 6, it does that thing, that trope that I think never ever works, and it's always just like a hot steaming iron to someone's arm. This practice of storytelling, which is the storytelling of, you know, that this car is gonna hit this person in the fucking face hard as shit, ruin his life, it'll spiral off and cause a divorce and a horrible paralyzation story, and there's just a miserable ending. But I'm going to rewind time and show you that no matter what happens, he's going to break his back. So I'm just going to torture you with like 2 hours beforehand of you just having to sit there and watch as this person makes one more step and another step and another step in the wrong direction. And you're just sitting there ripping your hair out all the while watching it. It's a horrible practice. I hate it. I don't think it doesn't offer anything good either. It's not like, ooh, that's so artsy. It's like, no, it's just a nightmare. It's just a not good fucking thing. Also, the thing that I'm talking about is Lucifer and Michael / the age-old YouTube trick of filming yourself in 2 different ways. Of like, oh, look at me, I'm over there. Hi, ooh, cute, whatever weirdness, you know? Anyways, yeah, man, it did not work for me at all. In fact, again, the only thing that I feel like is kind of an issue with Lucifer and this whole, like the whole show, and now that we're on season 6, is I feel like sometimes the designers get exactly what people love about the show, and then I feel like they just completely forget, or they don't want to try new things. That could also be it. But again, I'm not sure about you guys, but I constantly feel like the show is retreading ground that we've already been at. And again, normally that would make sense, but I feel like people just want to see Lucifer in a different scenario, i.e. introducing a new character and then you turn him into a serial killer. No, don't do that. What? Anyway, but yeah, man, the whole Michael thing, again, the fact that so in episode 1, we're basically shown that Lucifer is just back to square one of being a dumbass, about being like, okay, so what if I just hide away like an edgelord in hell, ooh, and I just wait a ton, and then, but again, it's like, wait, there was like huge breakthroughs with his therapist and him in the events that happened with his mom and all this stuff that helped him like realize, oh, I should be the dictator of my own fate. I should not be, just because I have this idea of like God has a plan for me and I'm his puppet or whatever, doesn't mean that I have to live my life like that. Like I'm just on a roller coaster waiting for stuff to happen. No, you can live your life like you have choice and etc. And then it seems like, and then she just forgets it. She's just like, oh, I'm just sitting there like, wait, we're learning this again, dude? Why? Why are we going through this existential crisis again? Especially now when you finally have the thing that you want. Anyways, so that was a bust. a really big bust is the first 2 episodes of you just basically sitting there and being like, okay, wait, no, that's not the guy. Okay, great. Now I just gotta sit there and watch this dude lie all the time and just be like, can please somebody catch him on this shit? And luckily they do, but it still takes 2 hours of time, because each episode's an hour, for you to sit there and be like, oh, finally they've seen it. Jesus Christ, why did we need this? We're right back to, like, we're right back to square one with now there being a villain. You could have added a villain 1,000 other ways, just by him killing people and it being like, that's a problem, we should fix that, instead of it being like this weird, I'm gonna tongue tackle your girlfriend or whatever, and they're just this, especially that, which your whole 6 seasons, 6 fucking seasons, even in counting, really, because they're still not really together. That's the whole fucking journey of the show, is Lucifer and this person that is perfect for each other just fucking being together, and finally when they're being together, we don't get a payoff that we were promised at the episode, or at the last episode of season 5. Instead we get this fucking nonsense. It's just bitter. It's just bitterness. You're sitting there and you're like, oh great, so she's okay, and it just sucks. I just feel like an asshole, but it's just stupid. So the whole Michael thing, it's bad. And the one thing I will say though, is the first half of this, or not the first half, the first 2 episodes are not good. At least to me, I didn't find them satisfying, fun, goofy, playful. It was like drama-y, and also again frustrating, just really frustrating, which I feel like is a really bad way to start off a season. Regardless, after those 2 episodes is finally when, spoiler alert all the time, but that's when they start finally getting close, and it's like, oh good, this is not just a train wreck, right? So I'm like, okay, good, at least there's that. Positives somewhere. And then it starts getting actually pretty good. Then you start like experiencing all these fun things. And to me, I feel like in the center part of this show was when I was having the best time. And I feel like the designer should absolutely do that. One of the moments that I loved, and it happened, is when Lucifer, his brother and his baby, and Dan were just chilling. We're just chilling, trying to be dad to this baby. And they were all working together, and it was like a fun new perspective to see Lucifer in and his brother in, and they were all like, it was like hanging out with the boys, except kids. And it's hard. Being a dad's a nightmare. But probably worth it. Anyways, regardless, I loved that. I feel like that is what people want from the show, is to take Lucifer and the gang, the characters that we love at this point, and put them in scenarios where we can see them be themselves. Like whether that's Maze actually being a badass, or like them going somewhere and actually having an instance where her specific weird character can actually shine, is beautiful, rather than her having this super back and forth fucking life journey that she's had in fucking 6 seasons at this point, where it's like, why is she always lost? Doesn't know who she is. I mean, in one season she makes hella ground, she does, and then it's like a new director gets her and she's like, okay, so she's the one that doesn't know who she is, and it's like, wait, we already found, okay, no, now she doesn't know who she is again. Okay, great, perfect. Why? Why? Mind you, I don't hate the conflict of her and her mother kind of business. That actually makes sense, and that again, that isn't just her being like, now I'm stupid again, like Lucifer sometimes does, whereas like, now I just have to learn the same lesson I've learned 10,000 times. I don't learn well. It's like, come on, man, please. Whereas Maze, this whole like dichotomy with her mother actually is something interesting, especially if Lucifer and her actually ever talk, and I really hope they do that. And I feel like it would be, I feel like they're gonna try to do it in like a cheeky way, and I really hope they don't. I really hope Lucifer and Maze both, like Lucifer, like I don't know how to put it, but straight up just says like, you were my best friend for thousands of years. I love you. And all that, you know, in probably a nicer way, but to me, I really hope they don't boil it down to him, Lucifer, being like, come on, chap, you're good, and then walks away because he does not explain his emotions. But I would, or even probably I would be okay with this too, is if Lucifer truly did sacrifice a huge part of him for Maze, whether that's like giving a part of himself so that Maze can have a soul or whatever, or just something, because I feel like that's something that just doesn't make any sense, where yeah, you have all these humans that have been nice to you, but then you have this person that's been by your side forever, and you haven't talked to her in like 2 seasons and a half, and I'm kind of just like, that doesn't seem, and they want us to believe you're some kind of like a good, like, it just doesn't make sense, like, especially for like, you're really good in this specific instance to strangers, but to Maze you kind of you're seeming to give the cold shoulder. Maybe that is because he considers her to be like family, like a sister that he undoubtedly loves, but doesn't need to like work to prove that you need to love them, or that you love them, right? Back to the parts I enjoyed. I feel like that's what people want from the show. Okay, another great example is another side character that I feel like everybody loves and wishes that they had in their life. And I'm bad with names. For those guys who don't know me, I'm bad with names. But her name is, she's like the forensic detective who's super quirky and fun and like a nerd, and she's somehow okay with taking pictures of bodies all the time. But anyways, she actually does like a huge character development thing in the season where she's like, okay, I'm in a toxic loop where I am only dating people who I think I deserve. Therefore, I date bad people and I'm unhappy, but it's just what I do and it's kind of what I'm comfortable with, but I'm unhappy with my relationship status, all that stuff. So eventually she's like, okay, Maze calls her out in the bullshit, and she's like, all right, fine, I'll try to go for someone who's a kind and good person. And then they have this thing that I fucking ate up. I loved it, which was her and this nerd dude who was just a good dude, who was like, let's go to Star Trek, and that was just an ongoing bit that I loved. I was like, this is dope as shit, hell yeah. And it was this, and there was this really cool moment where in the season where Lucifer and Chloe are just kind of like, no, angel and demon. It's like, no, you guys are just having love problems. You guys are just having like some commitment issues a little bit. Communication issues are horrible with you, both of you. Yeah, it's not like an angel demon nonsense. You could just eradicate all that. Y'all are just shitty at being in relationships and need to have better communication skills. The end. The end. No angel and demon shit here really fuck with you. It's just that, with the occasional kidnapping being a buzzkill. I get it. Anyways, so yeah, the forensic detective who's lovely, and her nerd boy is kind of acting as this kind of like, hey, it's not just angel shit that you guys are dealing with, it's just the relationship aspect that you guys are struggling with. You guys aren't communicating with each other properly, especially Lucifer. And yeah, you guys are letting this like Michael guy really fucking play with your mind rather than just talk to your partner. And yeah, regardless, they decided to do something that I think is a bad thing, where they were like, okay, well, what if, hear me out, there's this charming person who's gonna act as the kind of a mirror to Lucifer and Chloe's relationship, but he's a serial killer and he's a bad guy and he's out in 2 episodes. Done. Gone. You wanted that, right? You wanted to have like just that gone. Great. Now another pointless conflict. Another fucking pointless conflict. Now forensic lady is gonna be fucking crushed. And yeah, and that's something that we're just gonna have to sit there and watch. And it's like, man, I don't want that. I don't need that from this show. I just want to see like good vibes and good shit happen. And then with the occasional like woo. But now it just feels like it's like woo 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 is every fucking minute. Where they're like, okay, this is resolved. But wait, there's more shit that didn't need to happen, but it's happening. And she ate a serial killer. She's gonna be fucked up for weeks. Enjoy that, audience. And I'm like, I would have enjoyed her being schmoozy with the one nice dude for a long time, showing your audience, hey, guess what? If you see a destructive pattern in your life that you do constantly, break that destructive pattern, and fucking move forward. But no, but no, they're like, no. What if you give a good guy a chance and he turns out to be a serial killer? Keep dating the fucking people who are evil or just bad because fear and agony. And I'm just like, okay, sure, all of this seems like bad advice, but okay, I guess. I will say something just to talk about real quick. I do think that's something that they're going to talk about maybe, and they might be going in this direction, although I don't know. But there was a moment in when Chloe gets captured in season 6 or taken away by Michael, and him and the detective. Well, first of all, throughout the entire time that the forensic detective, the girl with the ponytail, she tells like the serial killer boyfriend guy how much she loves Lucifer, and then we've heard that throughout the course of the show. Of like when Lucifer did go down to hell, she was really distraught that he didn't talk to her or text her and all that kind of stuff. Now, again, devil's advocate, this could just be like, no, they're like brothers. They're like brother and sister, that kind of vibe. They look up for each other, they talk to one another, all that good stuff. Go team. There was this moment when Chloe got taken, and what do you call it? She basically started like getting really mad at Lucifer, like, what the hell? Why weren't you there? Attack. And then Lucifer straight up hugs her and says, calm down. We're gonna find her. We're good. And then departs. And to me, it's like the smallest little things that I could slightly see them introducing, with like the conflict of her hating the fact that she dated a monster, and then her maybe being pushed towards Lucifer because he makes her feel safe, or he's a kind friend, or whatever it may be, and there being kind of this weird commitment issue with Chloe. I could see the designers trying to play with that and making it like a weird, oh, what's her name, kind of to talk to what Lucifer in a way, but from the angle that Chloe sees it, it looks like they were leaning in and kissing or something, and then, oh god, now Chloe has even more doubts. And again, this is like the temple fucking series of bad relationship communication. Like, it's just they're like, I'm a devil and you're a fucking weirdo, my other half that was placed on Earth or something, and it's just like, we could never be together, it's so horrible. And I'm like, really? Honestly, if you guys just really are like picked specific jobs, you know, like you're the ruler of hell, could you not commission some demons to just watch over some people, you know, or your people? Like, I don't, if you just keep talking, and you'll find you guys solve murders and explosions that could kill like a whole tower and whatnot. Other plot points, you say you get like this killer virus that could have taken out hundreds of people. You guys solve that problem. You guys can't solve the problem of securing people and making sure they're okay. Oh wait, you do that all the time? What the fuck? Just talk to one another. You guys can figure some shit out that keeps you all safe. What nonsense. Anyways, poor communication skills all around. With that being said, though, as the season like went on, I did actually enjoy it. I only really had a huge problem with the first 2 episodes, just because, again, I feel like it had that thing that every show does, and I don't know why they do it, because I don't think it's ever done well, which is the idea of you having to watch a train wreck when you know what's gonna happen already, you know? And the like execution isn't interesting. The execution is just like, oh, look at Chloe making out with the man that she doesn't love, and we just waited 5 seasons to see her finally accept that she loves that person. Oh, great. Oh, and they're kissing and all that lovely stuff. Oh, but she did find out, but she still kissed them a lot. Bit sus and weird. Why do we have to go through this? This is weird. I don't want this. And then it's just that, and then finally it works out, and you're like, okay, now Lucifer is an idiot again, who's like, but he's a fucking edgelord teen who's like, but what if I'm dangerous? And I'm like, oh, dude, what are you talking about? You've been fucking dangerous the whole time. Jesus Christ, I thought we got past this. It's exhausting a little bit. Also, the other thing is that, again, I just really, really, really hope that the designers or the people that make the show realize that that's what people like about it, is not the like consistent conflict after every single episode, but instead it's the just seeing the characters that we've grown to love, largely in part because of what you've somewhat done, and just seeing them be them essentially, and then grow and become better. You know, like, again, I feel like that's what certain shows like Friends and all that stuff, who do have a huge series or like a lot of episodes where you actually see the person grow and become better or change over time, rather than them basically falling into the same thing that they, like, the lesson that they should have learned. They're like, oh no, what if they didn't learn it actually? Or what if some minuscule event happens that makes them unlearn it? And I'm like, but then we're just going backwards. It creates the same feeling of that I talked about, of like being really unsatisfied when you're having to watch something play out that you know is not good, you know? On the topic of what the heck the other half of season 3 is going to be, I don't know. Again, it's like it very much feels like sometimes this show has just a trough of directors. They're kind of all over the place a little bit. Like you get one season, and the next guy gets the next season, and then this guy's like, okay, I don't want to do anymore, and then they get a new director in there. But it seems like, again, at the end of season 6, Lucifer, oh my god, he fucking says he loves her. Like, I don't understand. Like if you don't, it's like, You're the most important thing in this entire world to me. I would die for you 1,000 times. I would go through endless agony for you. Cool. And then she's like, but he didn't say he loved me. I'm just like, what? What the fuck, dude? You realize the person's gotten shot? He was willing to die for you twice. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? He went to hell for 1,000 years for you. Are you an idiot? It just doesn't make any sense. Yeah, the dude has poor communication skills. We know this. You know this. Everybody knows this. What the you should know the person that you supposedly love has problems communicating with his emotions. But yet, you're like, but why won't you say it directly to my face despite 1,000 things have already shown me that that's the case? You know, it's just silly. It's just silliness. Okay? Anyways, I think the next half of the season, I'm kind of worried because it ended in a way that I'm like, oh, okay, hopefully Big Dad God, whatever his name is gonna come down and be like, hey, chill out, talk to his kid and be like, hey, being a dad's hard, chill out, go team, all that, and then hopefully they just fix it. But I feel like they're gonna again introduce more conflict, because God help us if we can have any show or any episode that's just kind of fun and chill instead of just like pow 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 pow. Guess what? More shit. We wrap that up. 7 more things came up after it. Bam. But I'm hoping that, or no, I'm assuming that they did say they had an offbeat comment that said like Michael has been like worm-tonguing God, and I'm like, okay, sure. Well, I guess God may be like, you guys have really been being mean. Meanwhile, Michael's the one who's shitting the bed. But ladies and gentlemen, that's kind of more or less it. That's how I'm feeling about it. Again, I really like the show a lot, and I will continue to watch it like a glutton. But I am worried about that whole business. Again, I really hope that the designers stop just doing what feels like pointless kind of conflict, and more of just like what people I think want to see. Like, again, maybe I'm wrong. You guys will have to tell me. Did you guys really hate the whole like forensic love story that they had going on? I liked it up until he was like a creep murderer, and I was like, oh, wow, that's just like kind of boring at this point. It's sad that in a show with demons and angels, well, actually it makes sense, with a show with demons and angels and all this shit, that a serial killer would just be boring and just a loving, like, good person would be refreshing, you know, and just kind of nice. Also, I don't know what that's going to look like. Again, I don't know how the one lead is going to react to it. It'll be interesting to see. But one thing that is for sure is that we will have to get ready to wait because it's going to be a while till it comes out. But with that being said, though, absolutely would suggest the series. There are some seasons in the middle of the 6 that exist that do kind of feel like a bit like, okay, we're just kind of spinning in circles. And there's other seasons where you're like, holy shit, finally, it finally happened, good, you know. And I would much rather them progress and grow rather than what they seem to be doing, which is like learning the same lessons that they've already learned, you know, or that they should have learned in that one season. But I would love to see if Lucifer, there was like an arc where Lucifer actually did somehow, some way, produce a child in the human realm. And his child's like, I don't know, whatever it would be, a 20-year-old, a 15-year-old, or 18-year-old, whatever. Maybe it's like a Michael does like a curse or something, and he like locked away his child, whatever it is, something, just like a different type of thing rather than it's always like, but what if Lucifer and Chloe don't love each other? Or what if they just still never learn to have good communication skills? Ugh. And I'm just like, can we kind of like depart from that and just try something else? You know, like, could we just like chill? Like, yeah, they're a couple now, but what happens if Lucifer has like a surrogate child or some shit? And how will Lucifer even manage that? That's a whole bunch of shit right there. And what if Chloe sees that and thinks, yikes, I wanted to have a kid with you, and now I'm not so sure? That could be a whole arc. That's much more interesting than another angel dude coming down that looks just like the main Lucifer guy and him being like, oh, I'm gonna fuck with shit. Also, more nonsense relationship drama where I'm just like, come on, show me something else than this relationship drama, because we should at this point have it somewhat satisfied. I'm fine if in fucking 2 more seasons it falls apart, but at least give me 1 season where they're just kind of happy-go-lucky working on themselves, you know? Anyway, second thing that's also positive, just to end it on a positive note, apparently this show is greenlit for another season. So after season 6 is completed, they're already They've already have season 7 ready to go in terms of like it's paid for, they're ready to film it. So we at least get another season, which is kind of awesome. Love that to pieces. Love the show immensely. Even if it doesn't ever really change, I'll probably will still watch it because I do enjoy it. And again, like I said, just the idea of the main actor who plays Lucifer is so damn good, as well as all the other people, of course. But he just kind of like, to me, it's like, again, I'm not sure if I could ever see another Iron Man as Iron Man, like I see Robert Downey Jr. as Iron Man, you know, or the Wolverine as Hugh Jackman and all that kind of stuff. So he is very much like, except instead of like Iron Man, it's the devil being like that. He is always going to be that person for me. Anyways, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for listening to a Crazy Man rant for such a long time. Let me know if you agree, disagree, or whatever about any of the things that I talked about. Would love to hear what you guys think about it. Maybe I'm not reading certain things. Maybe I was wrong, that there were different lessons that the character learned from the previous seasons that weren't these lessons. Sure, I don't know. Regardless, thank you so much for your time. Hope you guys enjoy the rest of your day. Subscribe button over to my right, 2 of them in fact, as well as 2 other videos. Check those out if you so desire. Thank you so much for your time. Hopefully you guys enjoy the rest of your day, and goodbye.